If there is only one thing you need to learn and understand about Magna Carta 1215, it's this. Magna Carta 1215 is the sole peaceful means known to humankind by which the rights of the weakest, most innocent citizens can prevail over a massive, potentially corrupt, and oppressive state power. This is the voice of freedom, Magna Carta 1215 Learning Centre. Welcome to your next lesson with hosts Fitzroy and Carl. Oops, I'll put that up. Well, hello, folks. Here we are, finally back for another night. And it's been one of those days. Camera's not working at the moment, but Fitz is here and he's working. How are you, mate?
Yeah, g'day everyone. Good evening, should I say. Yeah, I'm doing wonderful. I'm really looking forward to tonight because tonight we're presenting some evidence of what is possible with this notice process. And at the end, there's going to be like a comparison between the current system and what we needed to be living under, so people can see with their own eyes what actually is possible if we actually lived under a lawful structure. So I'm really looking forward to that. So I'm hoping everyone sticks around to the end because it's really going to be worth it.
Yes, and we might address a couple of things that happened last Friday in the Friday night free-for-all that, we got into, and a bit of fun that night. So, folks, it has been a busy time. Half my studio is packed because I'm on the road again for tomorrow night going to Ipswich. If you want tickets, Casamia is just about full up, I think, for tomorrow night. But Toowoomba, of course, the following Tuesday on the 26th. And you can go to vofhq.com as well, our landing page at the moment. It'll be our website eventually, and you can get ticket details for that there. All right, Fitz, without further ado, let us kick into the first slide of the evening. And look, I even read a mention.
So I, just a little bit.
Sorry, mate.
So I've come across this quote, and I know I shared it with you, and it landed for you as well. So the whole purpose of everything that this whole lesson series we're doing is encapsulated in this statement. Did you want to read it, my friend?
I will. There are two primary choices in life: to accept conditions as they exist, or to accept the responsibility for changing them.
So
it really resonates with me.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things. Then it's about understanding what are the actual steps that are really going to change in the direction you're wishing to actually go. And so that's the pivotal part, because until you understand that part, then whatever changes you make will end up most likely getting you back where you started. So, that's the whole purpose of this actual series that we're doing, is to really inform people, to show them what the actual specific changes are, that are required, and how to go about doing it. And so tonight's going to be wonderful in the sense it's going to show people the comparison of what the life is that we could have been living if we had this knowledge, years and years ago. That doesn't mean it's not possible, right? It just means you need to implement the knowledge. That's the only difference. So this is what I'm really excited about tonight's show. Have we lost you, Carl? Oh, I think we've done it. So if people are hearing me, can you just pop that up in the chat? And also, if you can let me know if anyone here was listening to Friday night's free-for-all, because that'd be cool too. I'd really be interested in if anyone that's here tonight. Okay, so I'm being told I'm being heard. So yeah, we're having the gremlins jump in and take Carl out again. So unfortunately, I don't have control over the slides, people. So we're just going to have to wait until he can come back in. Now, last time what happened was Carl was talking and he didn't realize that he wasn't on air. So I'm guessing that's probably the case again. Let's see if he's going to connect soon. They just love bombing him and he's the one who's running the stream. So,
all right.
yeah,
hello. I think I'm back.
Oh, you're back.
Am I back?
Fantastic. Yeah.
Oh,
now, did you do the same thing like last time and keep talking without realizing you were cut off?
No. I realized I was cut off. And then I have now changed my connection to my phone instead of the modem, and we'll see how long this one lasts. So, yes, you should point out before Fitz, poor soul, I have control of all the slides and everything. Fitz has nothing. And when this thing goes down, it happens in the cloud. So one side or the other side can drop out and reconnect again quite happily. The other side just has to keep talking. So Fitz, I'm sorry to throw you in the chair.
Oh, that's quite all right. I was just chatting to people who were chatting back to me in the chat. So I just asked the question: how many people were here for last Friday's free for all? So I'm getting a bit of response that there was a few people. So that's cool.
Oh, great!
Great. Just wanted to check in with that.
Okay,
but yeah, we
cool.
can move on to the next slide if you're.
If the machinery works as advertised, Let's see what happens. There you go.
So the reason I put this one up is to really understand some pivotal things that's in this slide. So did you want to read it, and then I'll sort of give it some more depth, if that's okay?
Sovereignty. Sovereignty is true self-ownership, self-mastery, self-control, self-discipline, self-love. Sovereignty is a diametric opposition to slavery, as to be sovereign means you are the ruler of yourself through mastery of your own consciousness. I'm sorry, I'm bringing up a Seinfeld episode in my head, but that's another story. Master of my own domain.
Yes. Yeah, I do remember that one, actually. So what I wanted to talk about in this one is the understanding of self-discipline. Now, that word sounds wonderful, but in actually putting it into action is a lot harder than most people think. So what I see happening commonly, especially when it comes to constitutional law, is people are switching around and they're going from using admiralty law and going into the court system and coming back and thinking that's going to work. Now, tonight, in one of those pieces of evidence that I've gathered, there's an example of what happened when that was mixed, and I've done it myself, and then the consequences that came with that. So self-discipline is to really stick to one thing and stay on it, no matter how unbearable it seems, because the way this system gets you is it gets you to second-guess yourself. That's the way it works. So this is about, can you stay the course? Because if you can't, then we're not going to be able to manifest a new reality. That's the bottom line. So that's why I'm really pushing it, because you can't master yourself if you cannot be disciplined, right? And if you cannot be disciplined, you can't love yourself, because to hold yourself through that kind of relentless pressure that's going to be put on you requires self-love. So that's why I just wanted to really give that a bit more airtime, guys. I was hoping that people could sit with that and really think, okay, well, I'm having a mental understanding of self-discipline, but what's it like to live it viscerally in the moment when I'm really being challenged and triggered? How is it to hold myself together through that? Because that's what's going to be required by each and every one of us, not just some of us, but all of us. And if we can do that, then we're going to be able to move into the world that we say we want to live in. So I just wanted to sort of give that a little bit more time.
All right, very good. Our next slide, or are we going to a PDF?
Yeah, the PDF, actually.
Hang on. I'm going to need to share my screen a little bit here. Give me a moment here, folks. There you go. Should be seeing that now?
Yeah, it's just got to get the slide out of the way, my friend. The slide's still present.
Look at you. All right, let me hide that and bring that back up. There you go. Perfect. That'll make it a bit easier.
That's it. So this last week, if people were watching the episode, I only got as far as showing the conditional acceptance and one portion of it. Now, with conditional acceptance, it's quite common to actually write a cover letter that goes with it, because you need to let whoever it is that you're sending the conditional acceptance to understand what specifically you are conditionally accepting. Now, this one I've drafted to be in alignment with last week's, which is to do with courts, if you're dealing with courts. And so this is a very specific one to courts. Now, it's not very big, so I don't know if I can read this. Are you able to read it, Carl? I know you did 3 pages last week. So this one's only got 2.
Oh, really? Yeah, right.
Yep.
We'll give it a go. Hey, I've only been talking solid all day. Pardon me for coughing in your ear,
So
folks.
if you enlarge it, I'm happy to read it, but I'm not going to be able to read it from the size it is now.
No, it's all right. I can read it here. We'll see how we go. Dear recipient's name, please find enclosed a notice of conditional acceptance, which includes treason evidence specific to Australia, requiring you, the recipient's name, as agent and or officer for Magistrates Court of Victoria, Magistrates Court Victoria at whichever town or suburb, Magistrates Court, to prove have authority to make demands, see Exhibit 1 on your name, a living constitutional subject of the British Commonwealth realm, standing under law since the invocation of Article 61 of 1215 Magna Carta. That initiated agents and officers employed by Victoria Police, ABN 63446481 to abduct, hold me captive, and use the threat of further violent force to enforce the above-mentioned demands.
So we'll just hold it there for a moment, Carl. So this one is specific to if you've ever been arrested, all right? Because that's what they're doing. They're actually abducting you. Okay, they're taking you against your will with no probable cause or just cause. So they're just, administrating you under their fake system. So you are now letting them know that you're, conditionally accepting them to have the authority to do that if they can prove they have it. And Exhibit 1 would be the paperwork that they would have issued you with that you would have, and you would just send a photocopy of that back with this letter. So I just wanted to explain what that actually means. But we can carry on if you like, my friend.
Evidence that Magna Carta 1215 is the constitution for the entire Commonwealth realm can also be found in the National Archives of the British Library and or the Public Records Office, and is accessible online within the public domain. I have it on record by court employees that Magistrates Court of Victoria is a public court, yet the evidence I have collected presented within has merit in presentable or material fact that Magistrates Court of Victoria, Magistrates Court Victoria, is a private corporate business issuing commercial contracts under the colour of law.
So that's pretty straightforward. I don't really need to explain that, so we can carry on.
Being that I do not wish to break the law, and by law I'm referring to the customs, traditions and rules the people chose to live by, which only the people can decide upon, not government, as government was created as an administrative body to serve the will of the people, I require absolute clarity from you, the recipient's name, doing business as the Clerk of Courts, for instance, of whatever government department or business name, to get the assurance that I require to make sure I am upholding the law with my actions and by no means breaking the law I swore an oath to protect, see Exhibit H, and require your conscious appraisal to guide me on matters of law should any of the evidence supplied be false or misleading.
So let me just pause that one for a moment. So Exhibit H would be your oath. That's what that is. So basically, this is you're now just moving into that gentlemanly space where you're going, I'm really happy to do as you ask. I've got to make sure that what you're asking is in alignment with the actual law and that I won't be doing anything other than following the law. So this is the gentle way to ease yourself into this whole thing. So you're saying you just want to stay in honor. That's what that is. Just to explain what that is.
In order to remove all serious and legitimate concerns I have regarding breaking the law by following the legal procedure of Magistrates Court of Victoria / Magistrates Court Victoria at whichever town or suburb, I have attached evidence that, to the best of my capacity, appears to be irrefutable proof that you are indeed operating as a private corporation. Therefore, I require your response in writing, providing evidence to the contrary, and in substance upon your full commercial liability and penalty of perjury, with your full name legibly written, accompanied by your wet ink signature. List of evidence is as follows. Exhibit 2 is a letter from the Attorney General's Legislation and Policy Branch that clearly states that Department of Justice Victoria operates from the 1688 Bill of Rights. The very same Bill of Rights that is an act of high treason against the people's preeminence by removing trial by jury and sovereignty, removing the authority granted to the head of states by the people to deny assent to Parliament's legislation, see Exhibit G, Do you, the recipient's name, deny this as fact in law?
So this is what you're doing now, is that you're asking them, right, to deny it. So you're putting them in that position where they need to accept or deny. So this is really, really important to understand what's happening here. So you are now dictating the terms of how this is done. So you're not making statements without asking questions. It's really important to ask questions and ask them, do they deny it? Because if they deny it, they're committing sedition, right? So you are actually in charge of this whole, how this is all going to roll out. And so that's the whole idea. So you're now presenting, so there's exhibits we're going to look at in a moment that actually prove all these things. And so they need to now show you that it's not true, right? Which they can't. But, you are giving them the evidence. That's the whole point, because that's how law works. It's what you can prove, not what you believe.
Exhibit 2 is a letter from the Attorney General's Legislation and Policy Branch that clearly states that Department of Justice Victoria operates from parts of Magna Carta 1297 in matters of justice and liberty. Do you, the recipient's name, deny this as a fact in law?
Same thing, right? So in the exhibits we'll show in a moment, it actually says the part at which Parliament has actually granted themselves sovereignty and taken it from the office holder of sovereign, which was never agreed to ever in any fantasy whatsoever. It just didn't happen. The people never agreed to that. That was never the structure of government that they agreed to run under. So, it's a blatant act of treason, and it's right there. So we're providing it, and they need to rebut it.
Exhibit 3 shows that Department of Justice and Community Safety, trading as Magistrates Court Victoria, ABN 327902289959, is a private for-profit entity incorporated in 1999, registered to Dun & Bradstreet, netting $5.27 billion in sales. Do you, the recipient, deny this as a fact?
Yeah, same thing. Like, we're providing evidence, all things that are discoverable on the public record. We're just providing it and sending it and say, okay, tell me this isn't, tell me this is false. Show me the evidence why it's false, So you need to deny it and then provide the evidence as to why this is false.
Exhibit 4 shows that Department of Justice and Community Safety, trading as Magistrates Court Victoria, ABN 327902289959, registered for good and services tax on the 1st of the 7th, 2000, is a corporation registered with the Australian Business Registrar, the ABR, operating under commercial contract law out of the City of London, home of the Bar Association, which has no lawful authority to demand and enforce compliance upon we the people of the British Commonwealth realm. Do you, the recipient, deny this as a fact in law?
Yep. So as you can see, like, just providing evidence, it's not just making things up because it sounds good to you. You're providing evidence behind it, and they need to clarify whether this is an actual fact or not, and they're not going to do it, right? So as soon as they don't, then they've admitted to it being true. So you're just making sure that, that it's there for them, giving them the opportunity. And if they don't take it, then that means that they've got something to hide.
The Commonwealth of Australia CIK number 0000805157, registered to the US Securities Exchange Commission, see Exhibit 5, pursuant to the Securities Exchange Act of 1934. Do you, the recipient's name, deny this is a fact?
Yep. So same thing. You provide, there's in the exhibits, you'll see that, we've got the evidence there, and they need to deny it. So, most people that watch this channel would know these things as a fact, but we need to actually tell them that we know, here's the evidence. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You're running a corporation. The whole thing's maritime admiralty law. We never agreed to that, and you're enforcing this on us without our consent, even though you have this fake system of consent that you run. That's still a transgression of natural law, and that's the only thing we operate under is natural law, and you are transgressing against it. So you are liable in your personal and private capacity for that.
I keenly await your written response to both the evidence listed above, along with the matters raised in the notice of conditional acceptance attached, so that this matter can be settled honourably and amicably, and equity can be restored. Should you fail to rebut the validity of the evidence contained within that proves the Magistrate Court of Victoria, the Magistrates Courts Victoria at whichever town or suburb, to be a foreign corporation that has no authority to make and enforce demands on living constitutional subjects of the British Commonwealth realm, of which the land mass, the majority of the population, refer to as Australia, within the allotted time frame of 10 days, then I require you, the recipient, to dismiss all orders and charges against the title of first name, caps name, family, ens legis. Is that how you say that?
Yeah, I'm not the best at this one. I think it's ens legis, but
ens legis,
yeah,
and derivatives thereof. Furthermore, this cover letter and conditional acceptance notice will serve as the evidence I am required by law to collect for transgressions of natural God's law against me in my defence before a lawfully impanelled jury of people with extensive knowledge of the Supreme Code of Conduct of the land, that being Magna Carta 1215, signed therewith.
So what we're doing here is we're saying you're not just going to be in front of any sort of jury of people who don't know anything. You're letting them know that they're going to be in front of those who know the true law of this land and the consequences for those who have taken it from us. You know, that's what you're letting them know. So they can argue with you all they like, right? This is what's coming for them down the future. So all we're missing is just the time frame by which we know that's going to happen. You know, so the more people that are listening to this get on and start acting on it, that time frame is going to accelerate. So that's, you know, what's ahead for us if we work in unison, in concert, because the reason why we're here where we are is because a bunch of people have been working in concert to create slavery. So we just require those who, you know, want to live free to actually work in concert to create freedom. You know, and that requires us to act now, right? So these are the tools you have to start acting, guys. So that's what this is up for. So we can move on to some of those exhibits, guys, just to show the people that we're not making this up. There's actual proof of it. So if you scroll down to, I think, page 3, Carl, if you can do that.
Oh, page 3 on this thing?
Yep.
That's the end of that one?
Yep. So the one you just...
on the Bill of Rights?
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
That a bit. So you see the highlighted part, if you can see that bit. That's the part that I just said a moment ago. So if you can read that out, it'll tell you...
Dispensing exactly. Power. That the pretended power of suspending the laws or the execution of laws by regal authority without consent of Parliament is illegal.
So there you have it right there, guys. It's right that you can't dispute that, right? That's what the 1688 Bill of Rights did. It took away the legitimacy of the sovereign, right, who we elect in to hold our sovereignty in trust, to actually be in charge of government. Right there. It's right there. They just write it in a fancy way, but that's what that says. You know, so anyone who's operating out of the 1297, that's what you're granting authority to.
That the pretended power of suspending of laws or the execution of laws by regal authority without consent of Parliament is illegal. That's so. If you're finding that, like you said, fancy way of saying things, it's saying that without the consent of Parliament, no law or suspension of a law can be made. It has to have parliamentary privilege. That's all.
Parliament has a say. But if you look how it starts, it says the pretended power. So what they're saying is Parliament saying is that the monarch has pretended power. Do you know what I mean? Like look at the hubris that's right there in the opening, you know, couple of words. That's the beautiful part of it. You know, they're saying it's a pretense. I mean, that's serious hubris. You got to imagine that, right? So this is what ignorance does, because the ignorance of the people, you know, and the unwillingness to actually look into this granted authority to this. You know, so this is about, are you okay with that? You know, that's what people need to look at. Are you okay with that as to how, you know, the system that you've accepted as your government, how this was set up well before Australia was ever a colony? Are you okay with that?
And it's a line and a half in a document that is 8 pages long.
Yep.
It's a line and a half, but it removes all the people's power, removes trial by jury.
Yep. The whole thing gone. Poof. So, you know, this is evidence, right? So this is the things that once you show them, they can't say, no, that's not true, because they go by this, right? And that's
let's just go back up the top and show you, folks. That is the Bill of Rights you're quoting.
Yep.
Well, some are quoting. All right.
So it's not my document. I didn't write this. Right? This is the official that all the courts use as their power of legitimacy throughout this country and other countries in the Commonwealth. They all run off this. So, there's your evidence, guys.
Right there.
So the next one will actually show you the in Victoria, they've actually come and said it. So I think we've got I think we missed one, Carl. Is it the one that says, let me just bring it up. It should say Bill of Rights Exhibit 2, Bill of Rights DOJ Exhibit 2.
That's a slide, so give me a moment. I'll stop the screen. This one.
That's it, yeah. So I don't know if you can bring that up any bigger because the writing's not very big, so people won't be able to see it.
No, I can't, unfortunately.
But
I can't. I don't even know that I can read it. Hang on. The Attorney General has asked me to reply to your letter of 4 September 1996, seeking advice about the application of the 1688 Bill of Rights in Victoria. I wish to advise the following. 1688, I, William and Mary Cess, the second maybe, Bill of Rights, continues in force in Victoria by incorporation in the Imperial Acts Application Act 1980.
So there you have it right there, right? That's it. It's right there. It's showing you that's in force in Victoria, and it'll be the same in every other state, I promise you. So it's showing you right there. They've actually told you.
Okay, so...
And then the next one talks about the 1297. I don't know if you can see that bit.
Parts of Magna Carta 1297 dealing with issues of justice and liberty continue in force in Victoria, again by incorporation in the Imperial Acts Application Act 1980.
So there you have it, right? So everyone has been arguing, saying that the 1297 is the way that's already in effect. And so you have living proof of what the 1297 delivers because you are witnessing it every time you step into their fake courts. So there you have it, guys, right there. I didn't make this up. This has come from the Department of Justice. I was just fortunate enough that this got sent to me, and I was like, holy shimoli, I can't believe it. Someone's found this. This is gold. So just that's part of the exhibits that will go with your cover letter that goes with your conditional acceptance.
Do you need me to read the third point?
No. The first two are the only two that really matter.
I notice interestingly that the Chris Humphreys who signed this document didn't sign. It's just stamped.
Yeah. Yep. That's a quite common thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, let's not trouble anybody with having to sign anything.
No, we don't want to make it. I don't want to put anyone's actual life on the line here.
No. God, far too frightening. All right, I think we're going back to our PDFs.
Yeah, so the next one should be the Dun and Bradstreet one, the DOJ Victoria Exhibit 3.
There you go.
So this is just proof, right, of that the Department of Justice and Community Safety is registered with Dun & Bradstreet, which is a credit reporting agency for corporations. And it shows you how much they generated in that particular year. I don't know if it says what year they were incorporated in this one because it's too small. I can't see it from here.
It says year started, year incorporated, 1999.
Yep. So that's the same time at which the treason was starting to be committed in the UK when they were starting to set up the Treaty of Nice. So, I've spoken about this on previous episodes. You can see it's all lining up. It's not an accident. They work in concert. Doesn't matter where on the planet they are. It's all run by the same string pullers, So, it's not an accident. It's the same things that happen in Britain then as well.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's one of your other exhibits. I think that's your Exhibit 3 that we've got there that you'd send along. And then you've got Exhibit 4 coming, I think, Carl. That
should be the ABN lookup.
Yeah, so this is the actual details of, I think it's the Department of Justice, that's the ABN. And when you scroll down, you'll be able to find all the different sub-departments that are attached to it. There's tons of them. Like they literally
Let me just go through that. Let me just go through the list of departments that are trading under the Department of Justice. They have the Department of Justice, IMES. I don't know what that stands for. Oh, Infringement Management and Enforcement Services. So there you go. SPUR in Queensland cases. It's known as a SPUR, but in Victoria it's IMES by the look. Sheriff's Office Victoria, Residential Tenancies Bond Authority, RTBA, the Coroner's Court of Victoria, the Office of Special Investigations Monitor. Wow. Victorian Government Solicitor's Office, Registrar of Births, Deaths and Marriages Victoria, Registry of Births, Deaths and Marriages, OESC, Office of Emergency Services Commissioners, CAV, Consumer Affairs Victoria, Enforcement Management, Major Procurement Program Office, MPPO, Professional Standards Council, Best Bureau of Emergency Services Telecommunications, VCAT, Dispute Settlement Centre. And that was last updated on the 13th of August, 2021.
Yeah, and then if you go down, you'll see Magistrates Court of Victoria is on the second page. Like there's so many, right? You'll be here forever. It's about 3/4 of the way down. So is the Supreme Court. God. So they're all in there, right? So I've seen questions about, is this the same Australia-wide? Yes, you just need to go and look up your particular name of your court. You know, in New South Wales, they call it the local court. I don't know what they call it in every other state. You just have to look it up in the ABN. You can get your own evidence, right? Same thing Dun & Bradstreet. Just go to Dun & Bradstreet, type in the name of what your local court is, and all that stuff will come up. And then you can grab your own evidence, right? So you just change it specific to where you are and change the words to the name of the courts as they're represented in your state. But everything else is pretty much the same. So just use this as a template and you make the adjustments that you require that's specific to where you are. That's all you have to do. But anyway, so that's our evidence as well, like that we send with it. There should be one more, I think, the Commonwealth of Australia one. That's it. And that's just all you do. That's one piece. You know, you don't have to do the whole thing. It's about 109 pages in this one. Don't worry about that. This just shows that it's registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. That's all you need to have. And you'll just send it in with it, right? And they need to rebut that you made that up.
Yeah. Yeah, well, look at that.
Yeah, so guys, people say I can't send it because it says Victoria. You can make edits to the document, guys, already. You need to start using a little bit of your own nous here. You just edit it to suit the state you're in. It's not hard. You know, just adjust the parts that aren't specific to you.
These documents you're going to upload at Soundbite University?
Yeah, correct. That's why I've sent the link in so people who want to get access to these, they will have them. Like I said, if you're not in Victoria, you're going to need to find your own info that's specific to, and if you can't, just leave out the stuff that speaks about stuff you can't find info about. But yes, I will be uploading it later tonight. Same with the cover letter, so people can download it. So if Carl chucks the link into the Telegram page, you guys will be able to get on there and start downloading these things and adjust them as you need them.
Give me a second here. I got to bring up another screen to be able to do all that.
So Adam, yes, it is the antithesis to maritime law. If you stick around to the end, you'll see exactly why, because I've made a comparison between the two, and it'll be really clear that it is the antithesis. Yes. So now we're going to go into some proof, right? So here's some proof of that there have been people who have, had orders put on them, and this is really important to understand. Because if anyone has ever dealt with any kind of intervention order or violence order and stuff, they know it's a foregone conclusion. They go through with it, right? Now, this one was meant to be activated on the 6th of July, right? So what I just asked them to wipe out any sort of evidence of who they are and any times and dates of that, because we don't want any repercussions to come to people because we're making this public. So, that's why it's missing a lot of info. I just wanted people to show people that these orders do exist. People do get sent them. And if they follow the process correct, right, nothing happens. And in this particular case, if you can bring up the next one as well, Carl, it's all to do the same one. Nothing happened. That was the 6th of July. Now we're on the 18th today? Now, if you've ever had an order put on your fake or your fiction, you'll know that it comes pretty much the next day. Once they rubber stamp it, that's it. You'll get it in the mail. They'll find a way. The snail mail doesn't exist when it comes to these people. Even if it's the cops that deliver it, they'll freaking make sure that it comes over to you and you find out about it. And this has been nearly 2 weeks and nothing. So I can't show you that nothing happened because nothing's happened, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I can't give you evidence that nothing happened. That's the funny part.
Once again,
so
we've got a station name here that's illegible, or a senior
so
officer.
that was done on purpose, because try not to show too much of where it's at.
I beg your pardon.
If we do, then we're sort of putting the other risk.
The whiting out was such a good job, I couldn't see it. There you go.
That was the idea.
And then there's this one.
Yeah, then that was a court attendance notice that got sent as well, that they were meant to show up at court on that particular time as well, and they never did. They did the notice process well in advance. They covered all their bases right. They followed the procedure and the process to the letter. Anything came the other way, which they didn't. They didn't even get in. The only thing that happened was this police letter, which hopefully you're going to bring up in a sec, because this individual put so many people on notice, right, that the actual the chief of that area just wrote them a letter, and they committed like sedition in that letter. It's just hilarious. So I don't know if you can read that, but this is talking about. So just before we go ahead, this letter is talking about those orders that we just saw a second ago, that they're still going to go ahead. So sorry, Carl.
I refer to your representations dated 5th of January 2021 seeking consideration of the above-mentioned proceedings. Those representations, together with all evidence available to the prosecution, have been examined carefully. The matter is to proceed and will be left to the determination of the court. Yours faithfully, Superintendent Chris. It's almost like,
No, the last name got taken out.
Dan.
Yes, the last name got taken out just to not make it too easy to identify. But you can see it's from St. George Police Area Command, right? Yep. And so what he's done, right, this guy, he's actually called lawful notices, right, that are about the Constitution. He's called them representations. That's an act of sedition right there. He's denied the Constitution as valid in that statement. Now think about it, right? His job is to uphold the Constitution. And he's come out and said this openly. So when I found out about this, I was laughing my head off. I was going, I can't believe the hubris of these people. Do you know what I mean? Look how far they're willing to go. And so then we constructed a rebuttal letter and then never heard anything from him. Now, he said it's going to go ahead. Well, I'm telling you it didn't, because now it's the 18th and it was meant to happen on the 6th and there's been nothing. So
all
this
right,
is
you want
the
me to read that?
letter. Yeah, if you want to. I mean, otherwise you'll have to enlarge it and I'll have to read it.
Dear Chris, I kindly thank you for your very seditious reply dated January 25th, 2022. I have collected the evidence of your sedition by referring to factual constitutional lawful notices as representations, is evidence of you openly denying the Constitution, which is sedition at common law, and I would like to remind you that the penalty for sedition at common law is full asset stripping and life in prison. Considering you are holding the office of constable, which has the grant of authority by the people to uphold the law, this is the second most serious of crimes you can commit while holding office, second only to treason, which you have openly admitted to doing. I am wanting the gravity of what you have just admitted to be clear in your mind before you proceed to coerce me to aid and abet high treason, as the law comes from the Constitution, which the people believe you have sworn an oath to protect. Maxim in law, ignorance of the law is no excuse. My notices are meant to inform and educate. They are not representations, as you claim, and they are in fact constitutional lawful notices. I realize that you will not recognize my lawful notices, as you are operating as a foreign corporation and have no lawful standing or authority since the invocation of Article 61, according to Constitutional Royal Protocols on March 23, 2001. My lawful notices clearly state without malice, vexation, or ill will. See Exhibit 1. 1215 Magna Carta is the English and Commonwealth Constitution that predates Parliament. The acts and statutes that you claim to have authority are null and void since the invocation of Article 61, along with all other treasonous documents. We refer to the 1559 Act of Supremacy as the Commonwealth Bill of Rights. The people throughout the Commonwealth will continue to collect the evidence as the law demands. We all have a constitutional duty to stand under Article 61 once it's been invoked. Anyone not standing under Article 61 is aiding and abetting a treasonous regime. All those acting against the foreign people of the Commonwealth will stand trial before a jury of the people at a later date. Any action taken against me will constitute as high treason, which still carries the gallows. Tony Blair's attempt to repeal the 1795 Treason Act was in fact an act of high treason, thus it still stands. I urge you to consider Eichmann versus the people in Nuremberg. I was doing my job is no defence, as evidence from those trials. Yours sincerely.
And like I said, we didn't hear a thing back. And when I say we, the one I was helping. And I haven't said, I said, I'd be very surprised if you heard back from them again. And that's exactly what happened. And then nothing came out of that whole fake court thing as well. So, you know, there's people who still go into their fake courts without realizing they're granting authority when they go in there. And this is, you know, and the next bit of evidence we're going to bring up is my personal experience. Not that one. That's the last thing we're going to do, Carl.
So, beg your pardon. Hang on. I'll have to stop sharing. I'm sharing. I'm not sharing. I'm sharing. I'm not sharing. I'm going to stop sharing.
The one that starts with VPOL app.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's
cool.
the application.
That VPOL app. That one.
So this is what got served on me after I'd sent notices to the local sergeant. Right. So this is what they look like, guys. Just you see, it's got respondent's copy. They're calling it a respondent. So just to show you that this got handed to me at the door, I actually read out the constitutional caution card. So if you watched last week's episode, you would have seen what that was. I had my phone there in my hands. So once they finished telling me everything that, you know, I've got to do, yada, yada, I read that out. And so I had a leading senior sergeant and a senior constable show up to serve this. And once I read out the caution card, he went silent. And when I said, do you understand? He wouldn't speak. And then I said, do you understand, to the constable? And he's looking over at the senior sergeant going, what's just happened? He has no idea. And so he says, no comment. So that's what told me that he didn't know anything, but the senior sergeant knew too much. And then they tried to hand it to me. I said, I'm not taking that. That's an act of treason. And so they put it on the ground, walked away, and they refused to look or say anything again. Like, I was talking to them afterwards, and it was like stone. They wouldn't look at me. It was the weirdest thing I've ever experienced. We're talking guys that have got flak jackets on, guys, right? The tasers, the guns, you know what I mean? The pepper spray, they're fully decked out like military, and they walked away like scared little sheep. It was amazing. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I'd never thought I'd experienced that. So I had to test the video
of that one night.
If I can find it, that's the problem. Yeah, if I can't find it, it's an issue. So this I never knew I could experience, right? So the whole time I've been doing this, I've just been testing. It's not enough for me to just people tell me. I have to test it. And that's why I'm sitting in front of you. I guess I'm sitting, you know, going through this, guys, because I've witnessed this with my own eyes, right? So I've gone through it. You know, I wouldn't be telling you if I haven't lived it. And so if we go through the others, it just shows you all the different parts that come in one of these orders. Right? This is a personal protection order. So you can quickly go through the others if you want, Carlos. But there'll be one page there where the sergeant actually wrote a bunch of stuff where he didn't understand that English law is running here. He just thought, anyway, and you'll see it. And I used that Freeman and the land language and all that kind of stuff. So they're just all the different things that, you know, the fiction that they're serving it on is not allowed to do. That's just, you know, got it all there. You know, this is them signing it, like the affidavit. So they get another sergeant to sign it. And so it's not an arrest warrant, as you can see. You know, it's just an application for a summons. We know what a summons is. That's what they do to the dead for an intervention order, right? So I think you might have missed one page. I think it's the second one.
That one?
Oh, no. That's what came back. So what I did is I sent off the conditional acceptance to the registrar. His name was on there. And nothing comes back, right? So the date of the court appearance, I had 10 days between the time they dropped it off, or 11 days, I can't remember now. And that was back in 2020. And I was still learning, guys, just so you know. I didn't know very much then. I was still testing. And so I had some people, you know, help me and tell me, look, now you need to serve the registrars of the court, the ones whose names are on there. And so that's what I did. And, you know, the date comes and like nothing, right? So 2 days later, nothing. A week later, nothing. I'm like, geez, have they processed this or not? Because I was expecting it was a foregone conclusion. 2 months later, I get this letter. Did you want to read it?
Due to the following reason, we have returned your correspondence received at the Heidelberg Magistrates Court on the 23rd of December 2020. I am unable to identify a court proceeding with the information provided. Please provide a case number or party's name if you wish for this file, this documentation, to leave this file and documentation with the court. Kind regards, the registrar.
So I never sent any paperwork to the Magistrates Court in Heidelberg, ever. Not even close. I don't even live anywhere near there. This is the part that I was like, what's just happened here? Why am I getting stuff from a court I've never dealt with, ever? Right? So this is how much shifting around they do, right? They're in panic. So I just wanted people to see what's actual reality here, right? So this is about dropping the fear, guys. You know, it's time to start doing. You know, if we don't do it, no one else will do it for us. You know, so that's why I've put myself in the line to show you, you know, what happens when you go out and do, not just imagine, but actually do, because that's how reality works. You need to manifest it into action, and then the reality will shift. But until you actually do an action your knowledge, it's not going to change anything. You're granting authority to the criminal system. It's just that simple.
Sure.
So this last one that I've done, I'm hoping that at the end. No, that's the letter we've already gone through. So it should be the one.
Oh, hang on. I'm still juggling things here. I haven't got to the very end.
Yeah, so it's just a comparison one. Yeah, so here what I've done, it took me a whole day to put together, guys, because I tried to order it in some kind of legible way that makes sense and flows. I've just put in yellow, if you still keep using the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act, this is what's actually legislated in there, right? And what kind of life we could have been living if we actually were following our true constitution. So I just did a left and a right column. So did you want to go through it, Carl, or do you want me to see if I can read it?
Do we need to read it? People can take screenshots, but I mean, I'm happy to go through it. It's just, it's hard to do a comparison thing like that. It gets very repetitive, and I mean, at the end of the day, mate.
Look, I'm more than happy to bring it up from my side, and I can read it out, because I did this at a meeting, and everyone who was there was like, "Can I have a copy of that?" So
I don't doubt it. I don't know. People can get a copy of it. They can download it from your Telegram site. But yeah, if you want me to go through it, how do you want me to go through it? Yellow side first, yellow, green, yellow, green.
Just go yellow, green. So then you can see the difference between what they are. So as you can see, it says Monarch on the left side, and the Monarch means that they're born to rule. So they're a master. And then on the right, you see it's a holder of office. It's just a job.
Yep.
You know,
just a job. All right.
So it's just about that.
On the Monarch side, you're above it's above prosecution.
So Monarch is above prosecution, right?
The office holder of the sovereign is accountable to the people. The monarch is above the law and the people. The office holder of the sovereign is below the law and answerable to the people. The monarch is automatic handover to heirs regardless of their capacity to fulfill their responsibilities, whereas under 1215, hold office in trust, and new holder must be elected by the people. Commonwealth of Australia cannot be disposed yet relegated to figurehead, whereas the office holder can be deposed and justice served upon them by the people under 1215.
So I just want to correct that. It actually means that the monarch has been actually relegated, right? And that's not a thing. You can't relegate the monarch to a figurehead. That's what's happened under that yellow side.
Right, okay. The monarch can be dictated to by Parliament, whereas under 1215 grants assent and dissent to legislation.
Yep. So then what's the next one to say?
I'm sorry, I'm just bringing up a lung. All right, Parliament, sovereign is under the Commonwealth Act, but under 1215, the people are sovereign. Parliamentary immunity and unaccountability in column A, under B, accountable to the people. Power to make and enforce laws under the Commonwealth Act, but under 1215, the final arbiter of what is law is the people. Dictatorship and slavery enforces under column A, under column B, supremacy over government. Power to punish in column A, and the power to punish in column B. Guilty until proven innocent in column A. That's guilty until proven innocent under the current system, versus innocent until proven guilty under 1215. legislation to dominate and enslave the people in column A, legislation to serve in the service of enhancing the quality of life for the people under Magna Carta 1215. Under the current system, laws of commerce forced on the people. Under 1215, laws of nature chosen by people.
So that was really important, right? Because the word was chosen. See the difference? We get to choose. Where here, you don't get to choose. It's just done for you. Good luck if you've got a problem with it.
Under the current system, politicians judge themselves. Under Magna Carta 1215, people judge the justice of politicians. The Commonwealth binds its predecessor, whereas under 1215, it cannot be bound or cannot bind its predecessor.
So that means any legislation that's done by a previous parliament doesn't have to be enforced forever. It can be changed. That's the true nature of how it's meant to work.
Under the current system, wars, poverty, famine, scarcity, and violence are rife. Under Magna Carta 1215, peace, prosperity, equity, and abundance for all. Under column A, removed consequences they have from themselves and the Parliament for misconduct in office, sedition, misprision of treason, high treason, and personage, whereas under 1215, the gallows, or life in prison for treason and sedition, along with full asset stripping.
So
in
that's
finance,
that's what we have the power to enforce, because that's the contract government put on itself. That's really important to understand. In order for them to have authority, they need to have it granted, because it doesn't exist in nature. No one is born with authority over anyone else. It doesn't exist. So it can only be granted. So in order for it to be granted, there had to be a set of conditions of what we would allow them to do and what would happen if they went past what they were allowed to do. And so they wrote their own contract about that with the Act of Supremacy and the Treason Act. That was Parliament who wrote that, not us. So all we're doing is we're enforcing their own contract by how they get the legitimacy of authority from us. That's
absolutely, yep. Finance and economics. Under the current system, they get to dictate finance and credit. Under the 1215, people oversee and scrutinise issuance of currency and credit. Under the current system, there is no accountability on measures of finance. Under Magna Carta 1215, power to judge justice of politicians and bureaucrats' measures of finance is available.
Have a think about that, guys. Have a real think about that, because I just saw stuff on the news earlier about how we're going to have this massive downturn, yada, 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 right? Would that have ever happened if we were running this? Have a think about
the nameless, faceless bureaucrats that we have to deal with today would be accountable under Magna Carta 1215 for every decision they make. And haven't we all had to deal with one of those bureaucrats who just says, no, 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 no. This is what the column says.
Just a quick one. I've got a question that says, so we are holding them to their contracts then? Yes, that's correct. That's what we're doing.
Yep. Hold them to their contract because they've broken it, folks.
So it's all on them, guys. It's nothing to do with us. We have just been living as slaves, but we didn't have a contract on us. They did.
Under their system, we get fractional reserve lending and credit, currency borrowed from private banks owned by the likes of the Rothschilds and co. Under Magna Carta 1215, it criminalises government borrowing at interest. Money printed by...
Have a think about that, guys. Have a think about that one.
Can't go and borrow money at interest. Money printed by Treasury at no interest criminalises the banks from lending at interest. There goes your housing mortgage going through the roof as they put their interest rates up. Constitutional restoration retroactively eliminates national debt at a stroke.
That's a really important one, guys. Really important to sit with that one for a moment. Just really understand that. This is the true power of what this Constitution does if we all get behind it and assert it.
So the banks lend
more motivation. Sorry,
the banks lend at interest under Magna Carta 1215. That's criminalised. National debt is what we can expect forever under the current system. Under Magna Carta 1215, constitutional restoration retroactively eliminates national debt at a stroke. The Commonwealth...
Just a quick pause. It says here they will never accept there is a contract binding them. They will when they've got no choice. You can make it happen, Chris. It's just that simple. So if you keep saying what's not, if you keep saying what's not possible, it won't be possible. That's how it works. That's how you stay a slave. Is you look at what you can't do. If you can't foresee and conceptualize and imagine, you'll never act. It's just that simple. So this is the true power you have. Every single individual listening here has the power to make this a reality. You need to actually see it, that it is possible, and then act on it.
Act. We
Exactly.
need to all rise up and act. That's what this is all about, folks.
It's
Learning
just
how.
waiting for you to. It's just waiting for you to come do it, man. It's all there for you to do. It's all been done for you. You just need to do your bit.
It's no point going out and trying to get your sovereignty plates on and not pay your license fee or your registration if you are the only person in town doing it. It's simply going to result in hardship for you. We talked about this on another chat the other night or some time ago, and I said then, if you live in a town of 10,000 people and you want to be a sovereign town, a sovereign city, if you like, and you want to be sovereigns within that city, you don't want to pay your registration, you don't want to pay your license, then you don't need one person to go and do that because that's a martyr. You don't need 100 people because they're going to be martyrs as well. Even 1,000 people doing it in your town of 10,000 isn't going to change anything. You're just going to give the police a great deal of work and yourselves a great deal of hardship. You are going to need 8,000 of those 10,000 people or more to do it all on one day and say enough is enough. Now, that means we have to wake up 8,000 people in a town the size of 10,000. Now extrapolate that to Sydney, a city of the size of 6 million, or Melbourne, or Brisbane, or Adelaide, or Perth, or New York, or Los Angeles, or Tokyo, or London. Now you're getting a bit of an idea of the scale of learning and understanding that we have to gain so that when we do come together and rise up, we can't be beaten. We can't be knocked down. And that's what this education is all about.
So,
sorry,
Chris,
Fitz, did I get a bit emotional?
I just want to say, I was really enjoying it, to be honest. I just want to say to Chris, like he's saying he's not a believer in sovereignty. I don't think you understand what the word means. Are you saying that you don't believe that you're above the rulership or control of another? Because that's the true meaning of sovereignty. So I'm not sure what you're doing here, my friend, if you actually don't believe you're sovereign.
Sounds like Chris hasn't seen. Sounds like Chris hasn't seen lesson 1.
Most likely, yeah. So if you're missing a lot of info, my friend, it's really important to understand the words you're using because they have an energy signature and they have an imprint in your psyche. And from what I'm seeing, my friend, your psyche is imprinted into slavery. So possibly this isn't the channel for you, my friend.
Yes, mind. Yeah, you're going to go to bed with a headache, Chris. The Commonwealth. Well, on the current side, we've got private ownership. Private ownership through government. Under Magna Carta 1215, we would have public ownership. Utilities are common in both sides, as are communications. Roads, hospitals, schools, and government, all common both sides. Police. There would be some changing in the police area, in the law enforcement area. Our police would become constables.
Well, see, on the one just previous, that's private. Everything on that left side that you wrote, roads, hospitals, government, etc., that's all private. See, the utilities, that's all privatized. But here, it's all public. So just think about all those things, right? Because that's one of the questions I remember asking you about when you interview Bosie, right? No one's asked him what is his plan to do with utilities, registrations, certificates, etc. That's a really important question to answer. What's your plan when it comes to that? Because I don't know how that's been missed in the conversation, but to me, these are the essentials of life. If you can't have that sorted out and owned by the people, because we're the ones who contribute to the activation of all that, right? We're the ones who put in the labor to bring that to each other. So why would you have that privately owned? You know what I mean? So this is a really important one for, say someone like Bosie to answer. Like, what's your plan?
Potential leaders, any leader going forward, doesn't have to be just Bosie, any leader.
No, I'm saying anyone who says they want to be in governance, right?
Absolutely.
Can they answer what would be their plan? Because you can't take away the people's, the essentials for living and privatize it without that being a crime. So if it's a crime and you don't do anything to change that, well, then you're actually perpetuating the crime. So you're granting authority to it. So this is a really important question to answer. Like, what's your plan when it comes to those things?
So currently under law enforcement, we have a group called the police that's headed by the chief commissioner, appointed by the government. Usually he is a bureaucrat. Corporate policy and enforcement agents are paid to guard the invisible prison. privately recruited individuals profiled for low consciousness and or narcissism and then reprogrammed to put it on the streets, enforce slavery and domination. Mind-controlled order followers driven by ego indulgence, owned and protected by government, serve the Vatican, commerce and Roman admiralty law, lethal force, contract compliance, police prosecution, no accountability to investigate crimes of treason, misconduct in office, misprision of treason or sedition. They suffer from PTSD, depression, alcohol, and substance abuse. Now, law enforcement under Magna Carta 1215 would be called constables, not police. The chief constable would be elected by the people. And to be elected by the people to that position, Fitz, they would have to be a highly respected individual who knows a great deal about natural and common law.
Absolutely.
They would be the keepers of the peace.
I just really want people to sit with that one for a moment, because that's nothing close to what any of us have ever experienced. So this requires your capacity for imagination, right? And if you can't use imagination, you cannot create change. It's that simple. Yeah. So all the doubters in the actual in the comments, right? You're not applying your imagination. That's why you have one. That's how it works. The reason why you stay where you are is because you've got limited imagination, because that's been programmed into you. You have limitless imagination if you wish to apply it. And then that would inspire the will to go do something about it if you tap into your limitless imagination. Unfortunately, most people are programmed into limited imagination. And that's not easy to hear, guys, but all those comments that I'm seeing, that's what I'm seeing. That's programming. That's not your true divine nature.
Yeah, cool. I'm not seeing any comments. I'm too busy trying to find PDFs. All right. So corporate policy enforcement agents are what we get in our police force currently, but under Magna Carta 1215, keepers of the peace and protectors of the people's sovereignty.
Have a think about that, guys.
Yeah, that changes the whole way that policing is conducted. They wouldn't be recruited and profiled. They would be elected by the community from which they live to cultivate the conditions necessary for freedom to prevail.
Now, that's a massive statement, guys. Massive.
Rather than enforcing slavery and domination, preserve equity and natural justice. They aren't mind-controlled order followers. They are spiritually enlightened people acting from conscience or conscious in pursuit of truth and discovery. They're accountable.
Now, just pause for that one, because this one's a really good one to sit with, guys. Think about what's just been put there, right? Could you imagine that's what a constable is? They're sitting there in the pursuit of truth discovery and cultivating the environment for that. You really need to sit with that one, guys, because if you can't imagine that, then you've got nothing to contribute. You really need to be able to imagine that and allow yourself to feel it in your bones. Sorry, Carl.
That's all right. No worries. Now, the current system owned and protected by the government under Magna Carta 1215, accountable to the people and natural law. Rather than working in service of the Vatican under 1215, the constables would work in service of the people. Natural law and the law of the land would be the law they followed, not Roman admiralty law. Lethal force would only be used as a last resort rather than a threat, and something that particularly in America is ever present. Police prosecution, well, the people get to prosecute their grievances under Magna Carta 1215, where there is no accountability in law enforcement. Currently, under Magna Carta 1215, the people who are the enforcers of the law become personally liable for not investigating treason and other things or under legislation. Rather than becoming PTSD-riddled drunks and drug addicts, these constables would be highly respected members of the community. And while we all have our battles with drugs and alcohol at times, they're far less likely to suffer from things of that nature and PTSD generally. The arbiter of law, currently under the Commonwealth side, corporate court trial by government. We would look for trial by jury under Magna Carta 1215. Currently, there are 12 presumptions of Roman canon law, corpus juris, Roman admiralty law. That would change to consciousness of the people, also known as common law. Under the current system, judges and magistrates are government appointed and lucratively remunerated. You can use smaller words. Conveners under Magna Carta 1215 are elected by the people. Judges in the current system decide matters of law. Well, a convener's job is to direct proceedings and offer advice to the jury on matters of law, not to decide or take matters into their hands. Under the current system, a judge decides on admissibility of evidence, the verdict, and sentencing. Under Magna Carta 1215 trial by jury, jury decides on admissibility of evidence, jury decides on the verdict, and jury decides the sentencing. Under the current system, the judge decides on fairness and fairness of legislation. Under Magna Carta 1215, the jury decides on justice of legislation and fairness of legislation. Currently, they have the enforcers of the legislation as law. Under Magna Carta 1215, laws can be annulled under unjust legislation. Legal protection is afforded for politicians, bureaucrats, and officers of the state currently. Magna Carta 1215, trial by jury, common law, private prosecution for all office holders, and it's for free. There are no costs in a trial by jury court. The Sestake Trust hearings are judged by government. The Sestake Trust's hearings are judged by government at the moment, and that's why you've probably never heard of it. Under Magna Carta 1215, natural justice and tribunals, the court of conscience, and judged by equals. State prosecutions versus private prosecutions in a trial by jury sense. You will get justice rather than injustice. And where there are lawyers, barristers, solicitors, and paralegals to harvest and plunder the people through deception in the current system, lawyers, barristers, and solicitors and paralegals would be prosecuted by we the people for those deceptions under Magna Carta 1215. I like that one.
So this is, what is possible. And people saying, how can we do that? You're not going to wake up 5 million people, et cetera, et cetera. If you look at the mountain, right? If you go look at Everest and go, I need to climb it straight, straight up like that, of course you won't climb it. This is about understanding that it's a process, guys, and we all have a part to play. So you need to be aware that you never tackle anything in one go. It's always piece by piece. That's how anything gets done. But if you don't set
Can
on
I
the
offer a
path,
little bit of advice? Can I just offer, not advice, it's perspective on that. How are we ever going to get 5 million people? 3 months ago, had you ever heard of me? Had you ever heard my name? Had you ever heard of me? Did you know anything at all about me at all? And I would say the answer to that is no. And if that is the case, then you're not alone, because in 3 months, I've found over 10,000 new friends. Friends I didn't know I had. Friends who believe the same things that I believe and want the same sort of things for our kids and our future that I want. And I've found them in 3 months. 10,000 or more, probably closer to 15,000 new friends. People I've never heard before, never spoken to. Most I've never met. We can get 5 million people. Stand up. Be counted, folks. Stand up. Don't wait for somebody else to do it, because somebody else can't do it. We have to do it. The people have to do it. And we have to come together with one mission and one message. Now, I guess, Fitz, we've come to the end pretty much of the slides and everything tonight. So I want to go back to what happened on Friday night, in our Friday night free-for-all, where there was a member of the Constitutional...
the custodians? Commonwealth custodians?
Thank you. Commonwealth custodians. I keep getting it all screwed up. I've got Guardians of the Galaxy in the mind. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, although it probably comes out that way. We had one of their blokes come on and try and tell us that they had found the answer and all the answers are great and follow them and, it'll all be a wonderful thing. The Friday night free-for-all probably wasn't the place for that conversation. And as he wasn't going away, I got a hold of you and put you in on him. And we treated him fairly, not harshly, but directly. Okay, probably harshly. That has since led the group that he is part of to back away from us in some way, shape, or form, and that wasn't my intention. I've got emails from a guy named Jason, and Jason, I mean this very genuinely, and Fitz, you do too, I'm sure. I'm not putting words in your mouth.
No,
We would love
absolutely.
we would love the Guardians of the Constitutional Galaxy, or whatever they call themselves, to come on the show and debate the points. Please, let's do that, because there is no point us having two arguments here. Now, Fitz, are you willing to be proved wrong?
Absolutely. Everything I do isn't because this is my belief. Everything I do is because this is what I've discovered. And I'm more than willing for someone to show me, no, that's incorrect. Show me the evidence.
Yeah.
Because if we're running off belief, then we're not going to get anywhere, right? And now you've seen what I've shown here. I've provided evidence. I don't just say things without backing it. Now, tonight was a perfect example of it, right? So people are saying, how can I get this done? There's a notice process, guys. You need to follow the notice process. And that has it, because if I've done this, right, and other people I've helped have done it, and they're just one individual, and it's stopped the court proceedings, the fake courts. Imagine if multiple of us are doing it in the one time, right? If multiples are doing it, and then others come and start joining in, but someone has to sit out the front and be there first to get others to go, oh, what are you doing? Well, this is what I'm doing. Okay, let me sit next to you and I'll do it too. You know what I mean? Yep. Someone needs to initiate it. It's just that simple.
So if you want your sovereignty plates on your car and you don't want to pay registration, then figure out how many people live in your town and convince 80% of them or better to turn up on the same day and time as you do to hand in your plates. And if you can organise that, I'll organise as many people as I can from my end to do the same. And you never know, we might have a national day of hand back your plates. But when we do that, I want you to have a think about what happens if your car causes damage. Because when you hand back your registration, you lose your third-party your third-party insurance, which is how people who are hurt in accidents not of their making are compensated in many cases. And some of those people require care for the rest of their lives. That's what that insurance payment is for. So before we all leap off into not paying our registration, how are we, the people, going to look after those that are hurt in accidents by people's vehicles, not registered because they've got their beautiful new sovereignty plates on? How are we going to look after the people that we maul in those accidents? Accidentally, I'm not saying there's any malice. But those people need to be looked after, and that's what currently third-party insurance does. I'm sure we can come up with a third-party insurance plan to look after the people, a accident fund or whatever it is. But these things need to be figured out, talked about, discussed, because let's not all race off and tear our plates off just yet, because you're going to race out of the car park, have an accident and cripple somebody, and where are you going to be then? You're going to be in their court answering their questions, and you're going to be feeling pretty guilty about crippling somebody. And are you going to be up to go through the notice processes we've just outlined, given all the pressures you're going to be put upon them? I would say it would only be a very strong mind that would get through that. So consider those things very strongly, folks.
So I just wanted to answer a question here. It says, can I go through the steps at the end of the show? Because it says a bit unsure what notices to go through and when do we send them out. So Eric, this, what we're doing now, is part of that. So next week we'll do number 2 and so forth. Or you can go onto the Telegram group. Carla hopefully has put a link up, and all that info is in there. So if you wanted to speed up that process, you can jump into the Telegram group and all that's in there. You'll have access to me, so you can ask me questions, and I answer to anyone who asks me questions, and I can guide you through there as well. There are other people in there that were more than willing to jump in and help. I've seen that happen. It's a wonderful energy in there. It's a real sort of community of people jumping and helping each other. I've watched it with my own eyes, and I have to say it's one of the most enjoyable things I've been connected to. So I'm really, really pleased with the quality of people who are coming over to the channel. So you'll be more than looked after, my friend. So I'm hoping that's helpful, because we just don't have the time right now to go through it specifically. But if you don't want to wait for the future shows that are coming, you can jump on into the Telegram group and
we can't do it all in one
link.
lesson. We'd love to, but we can't.
Yeah.
Softly,
So
softly, catchy monkey. That's how it works.
That's got to be on a t-shirt. That's got to be one.
Yeah, Magna Carta 1215. Softly,
Softly, catchy monkey. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, what's the number we need? 5 million. Softly, catchy million. Catchy 5 million. Or 5 million. You get the idea. All right, Fitz, another great show. Really enjoyed it. And thank you to everybody who's joined us this evening. We've had quite a few online. And obviously been very lively in the chat this evening too. So thanks to everybody who's in there. We'll have another episode number 11. Could you believe when we started out we'd make it this far, mate?
Yeah. Just a quick one that says the future is all we have. No, the future is an idea. All you have is the present, right? You want to seize the moment right now. That's all you got. Everything else doesn't exist. That's a fantasy. Anyone who lives in the future is mind controlled, because your planning for life in the future stops you from doing what you can do right now. So I totally disagree with that statement.
Yes, I got lectured on that for about 4 hours, mate. So when I first said the same kind of thing, I got a 4-hour lecture from Fitz about it. You got the good.
Yeah, you got the short one.
Yeah, you did. and folks, and so, just so you know, I am nowhere near as learned as Fitz in all of this, right? I was lucky enough to come into his contact with him, but I haven't just thrown him and unleashed him on you. I have spent months fighting the other side of the arguments for everything Fitz presents. I've played devil's advocate, and he has not been able to convince me yet that I've beaten him with any one of my arguments, that there is any way a Magna Carta 1297 based argument is going to be better for us than a Magna Carta 1215. Now, I am not a smart man. I am not a learned man. I can argue, but anybody can argue. That's why we make the offer every week at this time in the show. If you have something you would like to present to us that is going to change our minds, if you have a solution, bring it to us. We are very willing to have you on the show, and we will dedicate the whole show to it. And hopefully at the end of that, by using your argument or ours, we will settle on a way forward, because there can only be one way forward. That's the thing we all need to know.
Just wanted to see, there's a comment here. What do I think about the US Constitution being a trust instrument? Yeah, it's got legs. Absolutely.
Yep. All right, folks. Been a pleasure. Fitz, once again, look forward to sitting with you next Monday night. And I don't know, folks, is there any interest in getting one of these common law things happening on the road like I do with Ricardo Bozzi? So if I'm going to be driving, I need to film them Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday nights. So if you're interested in doing a live with Fitz, then great, we'll do that. Don't expect to see his face. He's very shy and really ugly. But we will.
I just realised you're talking about me.
I was just going to say, is there a delay?
Yeah, no, I was on delay. I was reading the comments. And I realised you're talking about
very
me.
good. Yeah. So if you're interested in doing that, we would love to do it. And one day, if we actually get into the same town and the same place, we might do a live together. But of course, we'll have to put a bag over Fitz's head in a public sense, so nobody can see him.
You can't unsee that. Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
If any of you watching are T-shirt designers, or you have some graphic designer skills, could really use some help, particularly in the design of T-shirts and stuff, because we've got so many people requesting Magna Carta 1215 stuff. We're going to figure something out, aren't we, Fitz?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. That's one of the ways that you can make yourself visible, and then bring up those kind of conversations, because it needs to happen at street level. This is not like we can just convince you over this kind of medium. It doesn't happen like that. People get more impact on a street to face-to-face experience, And if you're wearing things that are going to trigger questions for you, then you get a chance to actually present your knowledge to people, and this is a wonderful way to start this off. Now, imagine if there's a few of you wearing it, right? In your same town, that's going to trigger it even quicker. So this is, this is one really wonderful way to access something really simple that's worked in the past and can work again.
Now, I just want to bring up a design that somebody sent through, Fitz. I think just to show us what could be done. Now, I'm going to take a short stab and suggest this isn't the kind of, tagline we'd be looking for.
There's a ton of problems in this one. The first one, it says Commonwealth of Australia. That doesn't exist. Yeah. The other thing is lawful rebellion. If you're rebelling, you're going against the law. So the two things, lawful and rebellion, are an oxymoron. That's whoever's designed this is made sure this is, and then look at the crown on there, right? On the lion's head. Yep. It's not the imperial crown, it's the St. Edward's crown. So
but we are looking for a design, folks. We're just saying something like that's not the kind of thing we're looking for.
Yeah. So, but absolutely, like that's something. Yeah, but it's got to be. It needs to actually line up with what it is that we're actually the message we're sending. We don't want to contradict ourselves with the symbolism, because the symbolism there is going in the opposite direction of what it is that we're actually wishing to achieve.
I would agree. So we want to get it right. All right, very good. I've said goodbye 3 times, so that's enough. Go away.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting to be left. So good night, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. I hope there was something of value for you in here, and looking forward to seeing you next week.
Love your work, mate. Talk soon.
Okay, bye now.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?